The tycoon laughed as he said, "Open the safe and all the gold is yours," in front of the poor farmer, believing he would never dare. But when the timid man placed his hands on the safe with a look that revealed years of silent resentment, everyone held their breath and the tycoon simply froze when he realized who that man truly was. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The morning was quiet. The only sound the wind through the dry grass of Willow Creek Farm. Elijah Walker stood on his porch, watching a cloud of dust move up the valley road. It was a car, too shiny for Oak Valley. He knew who it was. He took a slow breath and waited. The black car stopped in front of the farmhouse. A man got out. He wore a suit the color of charcoal, crisp and perfect, and his shoes were too clean for the dirt driveway. He looked at the old farmhouse, the sagging barn, the empty fields. He did not smile. "You must be Mr. Walker," the man said, his voice smooth. He did not offer a hand. "Mason Croft, we spoke on the phone." Elijah gave a single nod. "We did." "Well," Mason said, clapping his hands together once. "Let's take a look. I have a meeting back in Nashville at 3 o'clock. He walked past Elijah toward the house as if he already owned the path. Elijah followed him inside. The front room was dim, smelling of old wood and coffee. Mason's eyes scanned the room quickly. They did not see the hand-hewn beams or the stone fireplace. They saw a problem to be removed. "This is the main area?" Mason asked. "It's the home," Elijah said quietly. Mason nodded, not hearing the difference. He walked to the window. "The view is the selling point, perfect for the main lodge. This structure, of course, will have to come down, all of it." Elijah felt the words like a physical push. He leaned against the doorframe. "Come down?" "Of course," Mason said, turning to face him. He finally looked at Elijah, but his eyes were cold, calculating. "This place is falling apart. There's no value here except the land. My company is going to build something with real value, a resort, luxury cabins, a restaurant, a stable for trail rides. It will bring jobs, money to this town." "This land has value," Elijah said. His voice was low, a rumble in the quiet room. Mason gave a short laugh. "Sentiment doesn't pay taxes, Mr. Walker. My offer is more than fair. You can take the money and finally leave this struggle behind." He waved a hand, taking in the worn furniture, the cracked window pane. Elijah's hands, rough and stained from work, curled into fists at his sides. He looked past Mason to the corner of the room where an old rusted safe sat on the floor. It had been there his whole life. Mason followed his gaze. He walked over and tapped the safe with the toe of his expensive shoe. A hollow metallic sound echoed. "What's this, an antique?" "It was my father's," Elijah said. "Probably empty for 50 years, Mason said, a smirk on his face. He looked back at Elijah, a joke forming. He wanted to see the farmer react, to break his quiet calm. "Tell you what, a bit of fun. If you can open this old thing, whatever's inside is yours. Probably just dust and spiders." He laughed, a sharp, solitary sound in the still house. The room changed. The air grew heavy. Elijah straightened up. He looked from the safe to Mason Croft's smiling face. The man's eyes were bright with amusement. He did not remember. He had no idea who Elijah was, but Elijah remembered. He remembered a younger Mason, standing right here next to his own father, a man with the same cold eyes. He remembered the sound of his father's voice, broken, later that night. He remembered a whisper on a deathbed, years after. "My father told me the combination," Elijah said. His voice was not loud, but it filled the space, solid as stone. Mason's smile faded. "What?" "Before he died, he told me the numbers." Elijah walked across the room. He knelt in front of the safe, the knees of his old jeans whispering against the wood floor. Mason watched him, his businesslike posture slipping. "Don't waste your time. It's a joke. The mechanism is surely frozen." Elijah did not listen. His big calloused hand reached for the dial. It was stiff, but it turned. He closed his eyes for a second, seeing his father's frail face. "Left to 10, he murmured. The dial clicked. Mason took a step closer. "Walker, really, this is unnecessary." "Right, to 24. Another click. A strange feeling crept into Mason's stomach. He stared at the side of Elijah's face. He saw the deep lines, the set of the jaw. A memory, vague and dark, stirred. A man with the same eyes, filled with a hurt so deep it was silent. The farmer's father. The man his own father had called a simpleton. A man who didn't understand business. Left to 3. A final heavy asterisk clunk asterisk echoed in the room. Elijah took a deep breath. He wrapped his fingers around the handle and pulled. With a groan of rusted metal, the thick door of the safe swung open. Mason Croft stopped breathing. The inside of the safe was dark. There was no glitter of gold, no stacks of money. There were only papers, a small, neat stack of old yellowing papers. Slowly, Elijah reached in. His hands, always so steady, were shaking now. He pulled the papers out and stood up, turning to face the man from Nashville. Mason's face was pale. All the confidence, the easy power was draining away, replaced by a dawning, terrible recognition. He finally saw Elijah, truly saw him. Elijah held the papers between them. "You asked what was inside," he said, the words quiet and final. "My father called it the truth." The old papers felt heavy in Elijah's hands. He did not look at them. He looked at Mason Croft. The man's face was the color of chalk. "What is that?" Mason asked. His voice was thin, a scratch of sound. "You heard me," Elijah said. "The truth your father locked away." Mason took a step back. He bumped into the edge of the wooden table. He did not seem to notice. His eyes were fixed on the yellowed pages. "That's not possible. My father, he never meant for anyone to find it," Elijah finished for him. He could feel his own heart pounding, a steady drum against his ribs. For so many years, this moment was a ghost in his mind. Now it was real, and the man who owned his life was crumbling before him. Mason shook his head. "It's a trick, a forgery." He said the words, but they had no strength. "Is it?" Elijah asked quietly. He held the top page out. Mason's eyes dropped to it. He saw the handwriting. Even from a few feet away, he recognized it. The sharp, slanted script of his father, Franklin Croft. Mason did not reach for it. He could not move. "How?" he whispered. "My father was a gentle man," Elijah said, the words coming slow and heavy. "He trusted yours. They had a handshake deal for the South pasture. Your father came back a week later with papers. He said it was just a formality. My father signed. He could not read the fancy legal words." Elijah's grip on the papers tightened. "The formality was a sale for $1. It gave your father all the land, the house, everything." "No," Mason breathed. He remembered his father's version. A shrewd buy. A foolish farmer who needed cash. A good deal. "My father tried to fight," Elijah continued, his voice a low monotone. "He had no money for lawyers. He got sick. The shame ate him up. Before he died, he told me he'd put the real story where it would be safe. He said the combination was my birthday. He said to wait for the right moment to show the Crofts what they really were." Mason finally moved. He stumbled to a rickety chair and sat down hard. The legs groaned. "He wrote a letter?" "A confession," Elijah said. He looked down at the top page. "It says he wronged his friend. It says the deed he had was no good. The real one, with the Walker name, is here too." He tapped the stack of papers. "This farm was never yours." The room was silent. The wind outside had stilled. Mason stared at the floorboards, his mind racing over a lifetime of beliefs. Every lesson from his father, every proud story about building the Croft empire began to crack and turn to dust. "I didn't know," Mason said, but the words sounded hollow even to him. "You never asked," Elijah replied. He walked to the table and carefully laid the papers down. "You just took, like he did." Mason looked up, his eyes wide. "What are you going to do?" Elijah looked out the window at his land, the overgrown fields, the leaning barn. His land. "I am going to have my home back." "You'll need a lawyer," Mason said, the businessman in him surfacing through the shock. "That paper, it's old. There are statutes, limitations." "I have a lawyer," Elijah said. "A good one, in Knoxville." He thought of Sarah Mitchell, his late wife's cousin. She was the only person he had ever told the whole story to. Mason put his head in his hands. The pressure in the room was immense. He felt a weight on his chest, making it hard to breathe. The image of his father, a man he had spent his whole life trying to impress, shifted and broke. He was not a tough businessman. He was a thief. And Mason had built his entire world on the stolen ground. "He lied to me," Mason said, more to himself than to Elijah. "My whole life he lied." Elijah watched him. He felt no pity, but he recognized the pain. It was the pain of a broken foundation. He had lived with his version for decades. Now Mason had to face his. "You should go," Elijah said. Mason stood up. His legs were unsteady. He looked from the papers to Elijah, and for a second, the arrogance was completely gone. He looked lost. "This changes everything." "Yes," Elijah said. "It does." Without another word, Mason Croft turned and walked out of the farmhouse. Elijah listened to the sound of his footsteps on the porch, then the crunch of gravel, the smooth purr of an expensive engine starting, and the quiet fade as the car drove back down the valley road. Only then did Elijah let out a long, shaky breath. He walked to the table and sat down. He gently smoothed the first page of his father's letter. He began to read the words he had waited more than 20 years to see. Outside, the afternoon sun warmed the empty driveway where the black car had been. The quiet of Willow Creek Farm settled back in, but it was a different quiet now. It was no longer the quiet of waiting. It was the quiet before a storm. Elijah read the letter 3 times. Each word from his father's hand was a brick, rebuilding a wall of truth that had been knocked down long ago. When the light began to fade, he carefully placed the papers back into the old safe. He did not lock it. The secret was out. He picked up his phone from the kitchen counter. The screen was cracked. He found the number he had saved, but never used. It rang 4 times. "Sarah Mitchell speaking." "Sarah, it's Elijah Walker." There was a pause on the line. "Elijah? Is everything all right?" Her voice was warm, laced with immediate concern. "It will be. Maybe. I need your help. The thing we talked about, it's happened." "The safe?" she asked, her tone shifting into something sharp and professional. Open and full. Mason Croft was here. He saw it all. A low whistle came through the phone. "Okay, tell me exactly what you found." Elijah told her. He told her about the handwritten confession from Franklin Croft. He described the original deed. He told her how Mason looked when he realized. "Elijah, this is huge," Sarah said when he finished. "You understand that? This isn't just a family story. This is legal evidence." "What do I do?" "You don't do anything. You sit tight. I'm in Knoxville. I can be there tomorrow morning. Do not talk to anyone else. Do not let anyone on that property, especially not Mason Croft or anyone he sends. Can you scan those documents and send them to me?" "I don't have one of those machines," Elijah said. "That's okay. Use your phone. Take very clear pictures of every page. Send them to my email. Do it now. I'll start looking at this tonight." "All right. Thank you, Sarah." "This is what I do, Elijah. We're going to make this right." Mason Croft did not drive back to Nashville. He pulled his car over at a scenic overlook 5 miles down the valley road. His hands were tight on the steering wheel. He stared at the view of rolling hills, but he did not see it. He saw his father's study. He was a boy of maybe 10. His father was at his big desk, smiling. "It's all about leverage, son," Franklin Croft said. "That farmer needed leverage. I had it, so I got the land. It's just business." Young Mason had nodded, proud to be learning the family trade. "It was a lie," Mason said aloud to the empty car. The words tasted sour. His phone buzzed on the passenger seat. He looked at it. It was a text from his assistant, Diane. "Any update on the Oak Valley closing? The survey team is on standby." Mason picked up the phone. His fingers hovered over the screen. He started to type a reply to call off the team to stop everything. But he stopped. His father's voice was in his head, cold and clear. Asterisk, never show weakness. A deal is a deal. He erased the text. He called Diane instead. She answered on the first ring. "Mr. Croft, do we have the signatures?" "No, there's a complication." "What kind of complication?" The title report was clean. Mason closed his eyes. "The title report was wrong. There is an older deed in the farmer's possession." Diane was silent for a moment. "That's not possible. Our search goes back 7 decades. "This goes back further," Mason said, his voice tired. It has my father's handwriting on it, Diane. He wrote a letter. He admitted he stole the land. This time, the silence from his assistant was long and deep. Sir, she said finally, her voice very careful. That is a serious allegation against your father's estate, against the company. I know what it is, Mason snapped. You need to speak with legal immediately, Diane said. All business now. We need to contain this. If that document is made public... I know, Mason interrupted. He took a breath. Cancel the survey team. Put the entire Oak Valley project on hold, indefinitely. Understood, but legal will need to see. I'll deal with legal, Mason said, and ended the call. He dropped the phone onto the seat. He looked at his own reflection in the rearview mirror. The man who looked back was a stranger, pale, with frightened eyes. He was not Mason Croft, the successful developer. He was just a man who had discovered his entire life was built on a rotten foundation. He thought of Elijah Walker's face. There was no anger in it, just a deep, exhausted certainty. The certainty of a man who had waited a very long time. Mason started the car. He turned it around, away from the main highway back to Nashville. He drove instead toward the small town of Oak Valley. He needed a place to think, away from his office, away from everyone who knew his name. He needed to understand what his next move would be, now that every rule he had ever lived by had just broken. The only place still open in Oak Valley was the Valley Grill. The neon open sign buzzed in the window. Mason parked his car around the back where it was less visible. He walked in, the bell on the door jangling. The place was quiet. Two older men sat at the counter on worn red stools. They stopped talking when he entered. A woman with tired eyes looked up from behind the register. Sit anywhere you like, she said. Mason chose a booth in the corner. He kept his back to the wall. The vinyl seat crackled under him. The woman brought him a menu and a glass of water. Coffee? She asked. Please, Mason said. She returned with a thick white mug and a pot of coffee. She filled the mug. Passing through? Something like that, Mason said. He looked at the menu but did not see it. Well, the meatloaf's good. Comes with 2 sides. That's fine, thank you. He just needed a place to sit, to not be in his car. The woman nodded and walked away. He could feel the eyes of the men at the counter. He took out his phone. There were 3 missed calls from his head lawyer, Robert, and 5 texts from Diane. He put the phone face down on the table. The bell on the door jangled again. A man in a sheriff's uniform walked in. He was broad-shouldered, with a kind face. He nodded to the 2 men at the counter and then glanced toward Mason's booth. He walked over. Mind if I join you? The sheriff asked. His voice was friendly but firm. Mason gestured to the seat across from him. Please. The sheriff sat down, taking off his hat. He placed it on the table. You're the fellow who was up at the Walker place today. News traveled fast. Yes, Mason Croft. Sheriff Roy Miller, the man said. He didn't offer a hand. Elijah Walker called me, told me you might be in town, asked me to keep an eye out. Mason felt a flush of embarrassment, then anger. He thinks I'm a threat? He thinks you're upset. And he's a man who likes a quiet life. Wanted to make sure that quiet wasn't disturbed. Sheriff Miller watched him closely. He said there was some disagreement about the property. It's more than a disagreement, Mason said, staring into his coffee. He has documents, old ones. They say the farm is his. I see, the sheriff said slowly. And what do you say? Mason looked up. I say my father was a liar and a thief. The words, spoken aloud to a stranger, felt both terrifying and true. Sheriff Miller was quiet for a long moment. He nodded to the woman who brought him a coffee without asking. He took a slow sip. That's a hard thing to learn about your own kin. You believe me? Mason asked, surprised. I've known Elijah Walker my whole life, the sheriff said. He's not a man who makes up stories. If he says he has proof, he has it. And I knew his daddy too. His heart broke when he lost that land. Everyone knew it, but no one could prove anything. He set his mug down. So, Mr. Croft, what are you doing in my town? Mason rubbed his face. I don't know. I couldn't go back to Nashville. Not yet. Running from it won't help. I'm not running, Mason said, his voice tight. I'm thinking. My lawyers, they'll tell me to fight, To tie him up in court for years, to say the papers are fake, to use every trick we have. That's probably what would happen, the sheriff agreed. But it would be wrong, Mason said, the realization solidifying as he spoke. It would be doing exactly what my father did, using power and money against someone who has none. Sheriff Miller leaned back. Sounds like you already know what the right thing is. The hard part is doing it. The woman brought Mason's meatloaf. He looked at the plate, the steam rising from the food. He had no appetite. What happens if I just give it to him? Mason asked quietly. The land? Legally, I couldn't say. But around here, people would see it for what it was. A man fixing an old wrong. The sheriff stood up, putting his hat back on. The motel is a quarter-mile down the road on the left. It's clean. Get some sleep, Mr. Croft. Tomorrow's a new day. After the sheriff left, Mason picked at his food. He listened to the low murmur of the two men at the counter. He heard Elijah's name. He heard his own. He pulled out his phone. He opened a new email. He typed in the address for Robert, his head lawyer. His finger hovered over the screen. He deleted Robert's address. Instead, he found the number for his office's document services. He typed a short, clear message. Diane, I need a new deed drafted for the Oak Valley property, parcel number 742, transferring full and clear title from Croft Holdings to Elijah Walker. No contingencies. Have it ready for my signature by 10 tomorrow morning. Do not discuss this with legal. This comes directly from me. The first light of morning was just touching the fields when a blue sedan came up the driveway. Elijah was already on the porch, a second cup of coffee in his hand. He watched as Sarah Mitchell got out. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes, dressed in practical slacks and a jacket, a large bag over her shoulder. Elijah, she said, giving him a quick, firm hug. Sarah, thank you for coming. Of course, let's see what we have. They went inside. Sarah went straight to the table where the papers were laid out. She put on a pair of reading glasses and bent over them, not touching anything at first. She spent a long time looking at the handwritten letter. Then she examined the old, stiff deed. Elijah waited. The only sound was the clock on the wall. Finally, Sarah let out a long breath. She looked up. Elijah, this is it. This is exactly what you said it was. Is it legal? He asked. After all this time? This letter is a signed, dated confession from Franklin Croft, she said, tapping the page. It admits to fraud. It names your father. It describes the trick with the contract. A court will take this very, very seriously. And the deed? It's the original. It was never properly canceled or superseded. The Croft family's claim to this land is based on a fraudulent sale. This deed, she said, picking it up carefully by the edges, proves the title never legally passed to them. Elijah sat down heavily. He had believed it, but hearing a lawyer say it made the air feel different. What do we do now? We prepare. We file a quiet title action. That's a lawsuit to establish that you are the true owner. With these documents, we have a strong case. But Elijah, she paused. Mason Croft has immense resources. He can delay, he can fight dirty, he can appeal. It could take years and a lot of money. I don't have money, Elijah said simply. I know. We'll find a way. There are legal aid groups that might help with a case like this. It's a clear injustice. At the same time, in a Nashville high-rise, Mason was facing a different kind of storm. He stood in front of the wide desk in his office. Two men in expensive suits sat across from him. Robert, his head lawyer, and a man named Stephen from corporate strategy. You cannot sign this, Robert said, his voice calm but hard. He held up the single-page deed Mason had ordered. It's a surrender based on unverified documents. It sets a dangerous precedent. They're verified, Mason said, his arms crossed. I saw my father's handwriting. Handwriting can be forged. The content is problematic. But even if real, that letter is a personal confession, not a legal instrument. Our title insurance is solid. We can fight this and win. By doing what? Mason asked. By dragging an honest man through court until he has nothing left to pay a lawyer? Like my father did to his father? Stephen leaned forward. Mason, this isn't about the past. This is about Croft Holdings. This property is the anchor for the entire Oak Valley Resort project. That project represents millions of dollars in future revenue. Signing this away is a breach of your duty to your shareholders. The land was stolen. Mason said, his voice rising. "It was never ours to sell." "Legally it is," Robert insisted. "The statute of limitations has long passed. That farm is an asset of this company. You giving it away could open you up to lawsuits from the board." Mason turned and looked out the window at the city. He had built so much of it, or so he thought. Now every brick seemed to carry his father's lie. "What if I buy it?" Mason said, turning back. "What if I purchase the land from the company, with my own personal funds? Then I can do what I want with it." Robert and Stephen exchanged a look. "That is possible," Robert said slowly. "It would require a fair market valuation. It would be a complex transaction, but it would separate the asset from the company." "Do it," Mason said. "Start the paperwork. Value it. I'll write the check." "Mason, this is impulsive," Stephen said. "Take a week. Let us investigate these papers." "No," Mason said. The word was final. He picked up the new deed from his desk. "This is already done. I'm going back to Oak Valley today." "To do what?" Robert asked, exasperated. "To try and end something my father started." He left the two men in his office. In the hallway, his assistant Diane was waiting, her face worried. "The car's ready, Mr. Croft," she said. "Thank you, Diane." "Sir, may I ask, is this wise?" Mason looked at her. She had worked for him for 15 years. "It's not about being wise, Diane. For once, it's about being right." He took the elevator down to the garage. He got into the back of the waiting car. In his hand, he held the simple, powerful document that would give Willow Creek Farm back to Elijah Walker. He had no idea if the man would take it. He had no idea if it would fix anything. But for the first time in his life, he was making a choice that had nothing to do with money or winning. It was a terrifying feeling. The black car did not speed up the driveway this time. It moved slowly, as if unsure of its welcome. Elijah saw it from the kitchen window. Sarah was at the table, making notes on a legal pad. "He's back," Elijah said. Sarah stood up and came to the window. "Alone?" "Looks like it." They went out onto the porch. Mason Croft got out of the car. He was not wearing a suit today, just slacks and a simple shirt. He looked tired. He did not walk with the same sure steps as before. He stopped a few feet from the porch steps. "Mr. Walker," he said. He nodded to Sarah. "Ma'am?" "What do you want, Mr. Croft?" Elijah asked. His voice was not friendly, but it was not angry either. It was careful. Mason held up a single piece of paper in a clear plastic folder. "I brought you something." "We have all the papers we need," Sarah said, stepping forward slightly. "This is a new one," Mason said. He did not come closer. "It is a deed. It says that Willow Creek Farm, all of it, belongs to Elijah Walker, free and clear. I have signed it. It just needs your signature, Mr. Walker." The air was very still. Elijah looked at the paper, then at Mason's face. He saw no smirk, no pride. He saw only a kind of nervous exhaustion. "Why?" Elijah asked. "Your lawyers must have told you to fight." "They did," Mason admitted. "They told me I could win, or at least drag this out for years, until you had nothing left to fight with." "Then why don't you?" Sarah asked, her arms crossed. "Because I am tired of living in my father's shadow," Mason said. The words seemed to surprise him as he said them. "I spent my whole life trying to be like him, trying to build what he built. Now I find out what he built was on a lie, on this lie." He gestured to the farm around them. "I don't want it. Not like this." Elijah walked down the two porch steps. He stood facing Mason. "You think a piece of paper fixes it?" "No," Mason said quickly. "No, I don't. Nothing fixes what my father did, or what I did by never questioning it. This is just the first true thing I have done in a long time." Sheriff Miller's patrol car pulled up then, dust drifting behind it. He got out and walked over, his hand resting lightly on his belt. He looked at the three of them. "Everything all right here, Elijah?" "Mr. Croft brought a deed," Elijah said, not taking his eyes off Mason. "Says he's giving me the farm." The sheriff raised his eyebrows. He looked at Mason. "Is that right?" "It is," Mason said. He held the paper out toward the sheriff. "You can look at it. I want no money for it. It is his. I just want it to be over." Sheriff Miller took the plastic folder. He read the document slowly. He looked at the official seals, the notary stamp. He handed it back to Mason. "Looks legal, but Elijah, you don't have to take it. You have your own case. You can win it in court." "I know," Elijah said. He was still watching Mason. A court battle would take years. It would cost more than I have. It would tear up this valley with gossip and lawyers. Then take the paper, Mason said, his voice quiet. Take her home. Let me do this one thing. Elijah was silent for a long time. He looked past Mason, at the old oak tree where his father's ashes were spread. He thought of the decades of quiet anger, of feeling powerless. This man was offering the power back to him on a piece of paper. What happens after? Elijah asked. You go back to Nashville and forget this place? Forget what your family did? Mason shook his head. I will never forget, but I want to help. The farm needs work. I have resources. I could help you get a loan. I could. He trailed off, seeing the stiffness return to Elijah's posture. I don't want your money, Elijah said firmly. Not my money. A fair loan from a bank. I could co-sign, just to get you started. You don't have to say yes now. Just take the land first. Sarah came down the steps. Elijah, we should review this document very carefully before you sign anything. I know, Elijah said. He finally reached out and took the plastic folder from Mason's hand. Their fingers did not touch. I will have Sarah look at it. If it is what you say it is, I will sign it. Mason let out a breath he seemed to have been holding for minutes. His shoulders relaxed just a little. Thank you. Don't thank me, Elijah said. This doesn't make us friends. I understand, Mason said. He took a step back toward his car. He looked at the sheriff, then at Elijah. I'll be at the motel in town, when you decide. He got into his car and drove away, slower than he had come. Sheriff Miller patted Elijah's shoulder. You did the right thing listening. I didn't do anything yet, Elijah said, staring at the deed in his hands. You're thinking about it, the sheriff said. That's more than most people would do. He tipped his hat and got in his car, leaving Elijah and Sarah alone on the quiet driveway. Sarah spread the new deed on Elijah's kitchen table next to the old yellowed papers. She read every line, her finger tracing the words. Elijah watched her, sipping a glass of water. Well, he asked after several minutes. It's real, Sarah said, looking up. She took off her reading glasses. It is a warranty deed. It transfers the property from Croft Holdings to you, Elijah Walker. He has signed it. It is notarized. The legal description of the land is correct. There are no hidden clauses, no strings attached. So it's good, Elijah said. As a document, yes, it is very good. If you sign this, the land is yours. You could walk into the county recorder's office tomorrow and file it. She tapped the paper. But you need to understand what happens next. What do you mean? Signing this ends your legal claim, Sarah explained. You accept this as the solution. You cannot later sue him for fraud or for the lost years or for anything related to the ownership. This deed washes all of that away. It is a fresh start, but it is also a full stop. Elijah walked to the window. The late afternoon sun was long across the field. If we go to court with the old papers, what happens? We would win, eventually, but it would take time, a year, maybe two. There would be stress. Mason Croft's lawyers would look for every weakness, every delay. They would dig into your life. They might question your father's mental state when he wrote the letter. It would be a fight. She came to stand beside him. This deed is peace, but it is peace on his terms. He gets to be the good man who gave it back, instead of the bad man who lost it in court. You don't trust him, Elijah said. I am a lawyer. It is my job not to trust. But I will support what you decide. At the Oak Valley Motel, Mason's phone would not stop ringing. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at it. The screen showed, Robert office. He answered, Yes. Mason, we need you back here. Robert's voice was tense. The board is asking questions. Stephen told them about your plan to personally buy the asset. They are concerned. They see it as you admitting guilt on behalf of the company. I am admitting guilt on behalf of my father, Mason corrected. To them, it is the same thing. It creates liability. They want a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. They will vote on whether to block the sale of the asset to you. Mason felt a cold anger rise in his chest. They can't block it. I am the majority shareholder. You are, but they can make it very difficult. They can sue you for breach of fiduciary duty. They can tie up the property in litigation for years, which means Walker would never get his deed. Robert paused. They are scared, Mason. This story, if it gets out, is bad for business. Their solution is to fight, to discredit the old papers, to show strength. Their solution is to repeat my father's crime, Mason said, his voice low. Their solution is to protect the company. You need to get back here and manage this. Mason stood up and walked to the motel room window. The view was of the parking lot and a dumpster. What if I resign? There was a long silence on the other end of the line. What did you say? What if I resign as CEO? Today. I sign the deed as the current president of Croft Holdings before I do. Then the asset is already gone. The board's problem is solved. They can say the rogue CEO made a bad decision. They can distance themselves from me and from the story. Robert was quiet for so long Mason thought the call had dropped. That would be a nuclear option, Mason. You would be walking away from everything. Maybe everything is the problem, Mason said. He felt a strange sense of calm. Draft the resignation letter. I'll sign it electronically. But first, I'm going to see Elijah Walker one more time. Tell the board I will be in touch. He hung up before Robert could argue. He picked up the car keys from the dresser. He knew what he had to do. The deed was not enough. He had to make sure nothing and no one could ever take the land from Elijah again. And that meant cutting it loose from the company and from himself, completely. The sun was a red line on the hills when Mason's car came up the driveway for the third time. Elijah and Sarah were on the porch. Elijah held the unsigned deed in his hand. Mason did not wait for an invitation. He got out and walked quickly to the base of the steps. His face was serious. There is a problem, Mason said. We figured, Sarah replied, her voice dry. My company's board of directors. They found out about the deed. They are having a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. They will vote to stop me. They will tie the land up in a company lawsuit for years to keep me from giving it to you. Elijah felt a cold knot form in his stomach. It was happening already. The fight was starting. So the paper is no good. It is good, Mason said, stepping forward. But only if we act now, before that meeting. He pulled another paper from his pocket. This is my resignation as CEO of Croft Holdings. I signed it 10 minutes ago, emailed it to them. As of right now, I am no longer in charge, but for the next... He checked his watch. For the next 14 hours until the board meets and names a new one, I am still the president. I still have the power to sign for the company. He pointed to the deed in Elijah's hand. That deed is already signed by me as president. It is valid. But if you don't sign it and file it with the county before 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, the new CEO will cancel it. They will say I had no authority. You will be back at the beginning. Sarah moved down the steps. She took the resignation letter from Mason. She read it. This is a real resignation, Elijah, effective immediately. Why? Elijah asked, looking straight at Mason. Why would you do that? For this? Because it is the only way to make sure they can't undo it, Mason said. His eyes were earnest, pleading. I told you I wanted to end what my father started. This ends it. The farm goes back to you. I walk away from the company that was built on it. It is clean. It's not clean for you, Elijah said. You lose everything. Mason gave a small, sad smile. I had everything. It just turned out to be made of lies. That's not a loss, it's a correction. He looked at the deed. Please, sign it. Let's drive to the county office right now. Sheriff Miller can meet us there as a witness. We can file it before the office closes for the night. By the time my board meets, it will be done. The farm will be yours in the eyes of the law, forever. Elijah looked at Sarah. She nodded slowly. He's right. If you want the sure path, this is it. Once it's filed, it's very hard to challenge. The board would have to sue you, and with this resignation, their case would be weak. The weight of the decision pressed on Elijah. He looked at his farm, the shadows growing long. He thought of the safe inside, now empty of its secret. He thought of his father. He held out the deed. Do you have a pen? Mason's breath caught. He fumbled in his pocket and pulled out a pen. Elijah took it. He leaned the deed against the porch post. In the clear space next to Mason's signature, he wrote his name, Elijah Walker. The letters were strong and clear. Now what? Elijah asked, handing the pen back. Now we go to town, Mason said. He pulled out his phone. I'll call the sheriff. Sarah, you should come too. As Mason made the call, Elijah looked at the signed paper. It did not feel like a victory. It felt like a heavy door closing, a door that had been open for 100 years. Sarah put a hand on his arm. It's the right choice, the quickest way to peace. I know, Elijah said. But as he got into Sarah's car, following Mason's taillights down the darkening road, he wondered what peace would look like now, and what a man like Mason Croft would do with himself once his last business deal was finished. The deed was filed. The woman at the county recorder's office stamped it with a loud thunk. It's official, she said with a smile. Welcome home, Mr. Walker. They stood on the sidewalk outside the government building. The streetlights had just flickered on. Sheriff Miller shook Elijah's hand. I'm happy for you, Elijah. Truly. Thank you, Roy, for everything. The sheriff nodded to Mason, his expression unreadable, then got into his patrol car and drove away. Sarah touched Elijah's arm. I'll head back to Knoxville. Call me if you need anything. And I mean anything. She gave Mason a careful look before getting into her own car. Then it was just the two of them on the quiet street. Mason's phone had been buzzing in his pocket for the last hour. He had not answered it. I suppose you'll be going, Elijah said. I have nowhere to go, Mason replied. The words hung in the cool evening air. The board meeting is in the morning. They will accept my resignation. My key cards probably already don't work. Elijah studied him. The man looked emptied out. You can follow me back to the farm. We can talk on the porch. You shouldn't drive to Nashville tonight. They drove back in separate cars. Elijah put a kettle on the stove for tea. He brought 2 mugs out to the porch. Mason was sitting on the top step, staring at the dark fields. Elijah handed him a mug and sat on the step beside him, leaving a good space between them. For a few minutes, they just listened to the crickets. My father never praised me, Mason said suddenly, his voice quiet in the dark. Not once. The only time he smiled was when I closed a hard deal. When I was tough, so I tried to be tougher. I thought that was how you earned love. Elijah took a slow sip of his tea. It was hot and bitter. My father praised me every day, Elijah said, for splitting wood straight, for remembering to milk the cow, for just being his son. He had so much love. Then your father took the land, and I watched the love get squeezed out of him, little by little, until there was nothing left but sadness. Mason flinched. I am so sorry, Elijah. It's a weak thing to say, but I am. Why did you really resign? Elijah asked. Was it just to make the deed stick? Part of it, Mason admitted. He set his mug down. The other part, I can't go back into that building. I can't sit in that chair, knowing what I know now. Every deal I ever made feels dirty. Every property feels stolen, even if it wasn't. The voice in my head, my father's voice, it's gone. And all that's left is this quiet. And the quiet is ashamed. Elijah listened. He heard the truth in it. My father's voice is in my head too, Elijah said. For years it just said one thing, wait. So I waited. I was angry, but I waited. I think I was waiting for you. For me? For a Croft to come back, so I could look him in the eye and show him what his father did. I thought it would feel like winning. It doesn't. It just feels tired. They sat in silence again. An owl called from the woods. What will you do now? Elijah asked. Mason shook his head. I don't know. Sell my house. The board will probably buy my shares. I'll have money. But I don't know what to do. He looked at Elijah. You'll fix up the farm. It needs a lot. The barn roof, the north field needs clearing. The tractor is from the 1970s. I could help with that, Mason said, his words careful. Not with a check, with my hands. I don't know much, but I can learn. I can carry lumber. I can pull weeds. Elijah looked at him. The man was offering the only thing he had left, his own effort. Why would you do that? Because when I look at this place, I don't see a resort anymore, Mason said. I see what my father broke, and I can't fix him. I can't fix the past. But maybe I can help fix a barn. Elijah finished his tea. He stood up, his knees cracking. The guest room is small. The sheets are clean. You can stay there tonight. We'll talk about the barn in the morning. Mason looked up, his eyes wide with surprise. Thank you. Don't thank me, Elijah said, but his voice was not hard. Just be ready to work. Sun comes up early. He went inside, leaving Mason alone on the porch steps under the wide, starry sky. The guest room was small and plain. Mason woke up at 5 in the morning. He had not slept much. He dressed in the same clothes from the day before and walked quietly into the main room. Elijah was already in the kitchen. He was making coffee. He handed a full mug to Mason without a word. Mason took it. "Thank you. Sun's up in an hour," Elijah said. "We eat first." They ate eggs and toast at the small table. The silence was not comfortable, but it was not hostile either. It was the silence of two people figuring out what came next. After eating, Elijah stood. "Barn first. The south wall is weak, needs new supports." They walked to the old barn. The morning air was cool. Elijah showed Mason where the wood was rotted. He handed him a pair of work gloves. They were too big for Mason's hands. "We need to take these old boards off, carefully. Then we measure and cut new ones." Mason looked at the worn tools, the rusty saw. "I don't know how to do that." "I'll show you," Elijah said. His voice was matter of fact. "Hold this board here. Keep it steady." For the next 2 hours, Mason held boards. He pulled out old nails. He fetched tools. His hands, soft from office work, grew sore. He did not complain. Elijah worked with a steady, sure rhythm. He did not speak much, only to give instructions. Around 8 in the morning, a truck pulled into the driveway. An older man with a kind face got out. He was carrying a cardboard box. "Morning, Elijah," the man called. Elijah walked over. "Ben, what brings you out?" Ben, who owned the hardware store in town, set the box on the porch. "Heard you might be needing some things. Brought you a new hammer, some good nails, a couple of squares." He looked past Elijah at Mason, who was standing by the barn, unsure. "Heard other things too." "The farm is mine now, Ben. All legal." "I heard that as well," Ben said. He nodded slowly. "Also heard he's the one who signed it over." He gestured with his chin toward Mason. "He did." Ben studied Mason for a long moment. Then he shrugged. "Well, if you're fixing the place up, you'll need supplies. You come see me. I'll give you a fair price." He got back in his truck and left. Mason walked over. "That was the hardware store?" "Yes. Ben's known me since I was a boy." He didn't seem angry to see me. "He's waiting to see what you do," Elijah said. He picked up the new hammer from the box. "Actions matter here, not words." He handed the hammer to Mason. "Try this. It's balanced better." They worked until noon. They removed all the bad wood from the south wall. Mason's shirt was stained with sweat and dust. His back ached. They sat on the porch steps to drink water. Mason's phone buzzed. He looked at it. A text from his former assistant, Diane. "Board voted, resignation accepted. They've appointed Stephen as interim CEO." He showed the phone to Elijah. "It's done then," Elijah said. "Yes." "You are not that man anymore." "No," Mason said. He put the phone away. "I think I need to go into town later, to the bank." Elijah looked at him, a question in his eyes. "Not for a handout," Mason said quickly. "To talk to the loan officer, with you. I can co-sign like I said, so you can get a real loan for the materials, for seeds, for a better tractor. It's not my money, it's the bank's money. You'll pay it back." Elijah was quiet. He looked out at his land. "I'll think about it." "That's fair." Later that afternoon, they drove into Oak Valley in Elijah's old truck. People on the sidewalk turned to look. They saw the rich man from Nashville in the passenger seat of Elijah Walker's truck. Their faces showed confusion, then curiosity. At the bank, the loan officer, a woman named Linda, knew Elijah. She listened as Mason explained he would co-sign a small business loan for farm improvements. She looked back and forth between them. "This is unusual," Linda said. "It's a new beginning," Mason replied. Elijah signed the papers. Mason signed beside him. Linda said the money would be in the account in 3 days. On the drive back, Elijah was quiet. When they got to the farm, he stopped the truck but didn't get out. "My father would not believe this day," Elijah said. "My father would be furious," Mason said. Elijah almost smiled. It was just a small twitch at the corner of his mouth. "Good." They got out. The old farmhouse waited for them, quiet and solid. Through the open front door, the empty safe was just visible in the corner, its door still wide open, its secret gone for good. The work on the barn was only half done. There was a long road ahead, but for the first time in a very long time, for both of them, The road led forward,